Hi everyone, welcome to the session of our web series, Fireside Chat with Champions, in which we interview global business leaders asking them crowdsourced questions relevant to the biggest challenge we face today, COVID-19 and its impact on various aspects of business and the way we can steer ourselves in these current uncertainties. Today we have a special guest with us, Soyoung Kang. Soyoung is a serial entrepreneur, currently founder and CEO of Gnowbe, a mobile microlearning, authoring, and content platform. She was honored by World Economic Forum as Young Global Leader. She is an author, speaker, and thought leader on the future of work, transformation, and humanization of technology. She is a strong champion with the view that to humanize the world, one has to be human. With rising technology and AI, she is involved in her cause, passionately to decipher the meaning and the message behind the question, what does it mean to be uniquely human? Soyoung is passionate about addressing the question of ethics, values, and humanity in the age of AI. She does this through engaging with global leaders across multiple sectors and countries, including academics, government, technology, business, and social sector, as there are systemic challenges to be addressed. Thanks, Soyoung, for accepting our invitation. I would request you to let our viewers know a bit more about you and your current interests and activities. Floor is yours, Soyoung.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Deepak, first of all, for what you're doing to really help connect different people around the world and using technology to connect humans. And so just a brief introduction. Thank you for that nice introduction. At the end of the day, I like to solve big problems. So I think what I'm doing is solving big problems. And now I think with COVID has revealed one of the biggest challenges we have. I just got off a call today with someone from Japan. Did you know that 5% of schools were learning during COVID? 5%, which means 95% of students were not learning during this period. That's a travesty. We have 1.5 billion students that were not learning because of lack of access to education during COVID. You have churches and other religious institutions that are unable to meet. You have companies that are now struggling to figure out work from home. So COVID has unveiled this need to figure out what to do with technology. It's basically catapulted digital transformation, right? It's taken that from a 2 to 3 year into a 2-week decision of how to transform our businesses, organizations, schools to become digital. And so this is a huge problem, figuring out how we can digitize quickly enough while also still remaining human. And I think that is the biggest challenge I think the world is facing today. And so that's what I spend all my time with my teams thinking about. How can we help to digitize while still being human?
That's awesome insights, and I strongly agree with you that learning is changing drastically. In fact, whether it is for K-12 young kids to people like you and me, right? That actually, the way we are interacting, the way we are learning from each other is very, very different. And maybe also now because we are adopting digitization a little bit more than what we used to before COVID, maybe it has given us all a better way of communicating with each other. As I was telling you, we interact a lot, right? When we are in the conferences, whether it's the World Economic Forum or the ASEAN Secretariat and all that. But end of the day, when we are back home after those trips, the communication somehow gets lost. But now we are more and more doing that. So that brings us to our very, very pertinent question. So Soyoung, you know that actually, you have been founder of a lot of companies. You interact with governments. You interact with a lot of the think tanks, the decision makers. I would like to understand from you specifically in technology and the learning domain, those startups we are working, how COVID is going to impact them going forward.
Yeah, so I think as founder of Gnowbe, right? Gnowbe is a mobile first, digital authoring and content platform. And so I think one of the ways that COVID is going to impact us, we've had the largest user growth we've ever had in the last 2 months. So you're going to see a rapid, I think, expansion of users in edtech, in learning technologies, in communication and engagement platforms, because people need these technologies and tools. I think you're also going to see a surge in capability building. So recently we launched a mobile instructional design accreditation program. This is to teach people how to digitize content in a very effective way. Because so the new skills and new capabilities will be required in the post-COVID era when people recognize that it's not just about technology. We need to teach people how to use the technology in the best way possible. So we cannot assume that digitization means I give you a piece of software and expect you to know how to use it, which is why the mindset shift. So, imagine if we're designing a class for face-to-face. There's a certain instructional design we will use. Now, all of a sudden, we have to design for a small mobile phone. Obviously, the mindset, the skill set to design for mobile will be very different, which is why we launched the accreditation program to train people on how to do this. So I think there's going to be one trend in the tech adoption. Second trend is going to be in capability building in terms of how to digitize things. I think thirdly, I think you're going to see new innovations, new ways of engaging with technology that we had not seen before because it's kind of a requirement. So I think those trends, I hope you're seeing them spark already. And I assume that they're going to continue even post-COVID.
Very excellently articulated. In fact, I can directly connect with very recently we came across the same scenario. So we work a lot with the farmers and we give them a lot of advisory and all that. And my team on the ground, they started telling me, sir, that actually farmers want us to teach them how to use a video call, right, on WhatsApp. Right? They said, okay, fine, your advisory is okay. When I want to sell my produce, I want to do a video call with the buyer because now I cannot go to him with my tractor. So I want him to show my produce, my fruits, my vegetable. So can you teach us how to do the video call? So you are right that it's also about capability. Technology is one part of it. I also would love to highlight here that the great work you are doing. So I was going through what you are doing and the whole concept of learning by doing and sharing. It's very rare when we talk about digitized platform doing that. And you have been doing that. And in fact, I'm going and going to use your solution in my organization because I found it to be very, very effective. Now that brings us to something a little bit wider, a question which I would like to ask you. Forget the startup, talking about the economy overall, right? You have been a well-traveled and well-connected person. You would be interacting with a lot of people who talk about economy. I would like to understand from you how COVID is going to impact the future of work, right? Second, I would also like to understand from you that you talk a lot about humanization of technology, right? And the unique point of being human. How do you think that the humans would change because of COVID, right? So pre-COVID era and post-COVID era, what changes you see? And do you see it as more of a challenge or an opportunity? So I would like to understand from you.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really great question. And I don't think anyone knows the answer to this. And of course, the answer will be somewhere in between. I guess I'll share my hope. I think what COVID has revealed is for organizations is the need to trust your people. When all of a sudden your people have to work from home, what it's revealing is that some companies who have a very strong culture are getting stronger because they're able to trust each other and work more collaboratively. For our team, we're globally distributed in US, Europe, and Asia. We have been working from home remotely for quite a while. So when COVID happened, we didn't really see any impact. In fact, I think we are more productive now than we were before COVID, right? And we invest a lot in culture. You have other companies who maybe there were some opportunities to improve their culture. So work from home has exacerbated maybe poor trust or poor relationships with managers, and it's made it very difficult to work together. And so it's made those issues even bigger. So I think you will have probably a gamut. So I think this work from home concept hopefully will force in some ways managers and leaders to start to spend more time. So I think that the stronger companies are spending more time coaching, mentoring their people virtually. And I think you saw some reports that communication levels have gone up post-COVID, which I think is a positive outcome. And then when you see that communication increases and trust increases, because now managers trust their people are working, even though they're not sitting next to them and watching them, then I think you build stronger cultures. So my hope is that in the post-COVID world, that trust and that level of communication continues and it could remain strong, and that you can have higher productivity and higher level of connection, which then is related to your second point around this whole idea of humanizing technology. One of the things that I think technology can be used for, and when we design Gnowbe, Gnowbe stands for Grow Knowledge into Being. It's all about raising human consciousness. So our platform was designed for human connection. And so if you design technology in this way intentionally for human connection, then of course you would expect people to use it that way. And so I think the idea, one of the initiatives that we launched, which I'm actually very proud of, to be honest, because my team did it for ourselves. We didn't do it for any other reason except we wanted to remain connected. So one of the people on my team came up with this idea called the daily mood meter. And every single day, it was a very short 10 minutes in Gnowbe, which was a poll, a daily poll, and then a question of why do you answer the question like that? And then very fun activities. And the fun activities could be a meme, it could be a joke, it could be a picture of me and my different color hair because I change my hair color all the time. So they were just making fun of each other, making fun of me, and it was just very funny. So every day I found myself waking up looking forward to the next session of the daily mood meter. And it brought my company and my team together in such a human way where some of my developers who I've never seen them before, because in our all hands meeting, they don't speak. They're so quiet, introverted. All of a sudden, I see them with their memes and photos in the app. Very, very human, right? So I feel more connected with him now than I did even pre-COVID. So then my team said, this is so great. Why don't we give this to the world? And I said, oh, that's a very good idea. So we launched this global initiative called the Daily Pulse. So the Daily Pulse launched last week, and we've invited every single day to share something fun with the world to connect all of us in a human way. So we invite you, Deepak, and all your followers for free to join the Daily Pulse to stay connected with strangers, with friends. And so this idea of living out the technology to connect humanity is something that we're practicing through the Daily Pulse. It's fun, it's free, why not? And there are a lot of people who need this emotional connection right now. So if we can be of value, it's amazing, right?
It's amazing. In fact, definitely I'll share the link and then ask a lot of people to join it because as you rightly articulated it, that human touch is becoming very, very relevant in the tough times. And I also strongly believe that if we have to come out successful after COVID, it's about collaboration, about the human touch and thinking someone as a human being rather than just a business or a economics, right? So that's an awesome initiative and congratulations for doing that. Also, I would like to understand, going a little bit deeper in what you were talking about, Soyang as a human being, as a person, right, is also having trouble because of COVID, right? Because it's just not about your organization, the economy, the work you do. It also have a lot of stress on us as an individual. The people who are extrovert like you, who have been traveling across the world, people who have been meeting so many people every day. And then there is actually always a human touch. We love hugging each other, shaking hands. Now suddenly you are all alone in front of screen for 8 to 10 hours a day. How you are coping with this on a personal level? What you would suggest the audience they should be doing so that they don't lose out their brain, right? Because of all these things. Because I see that there would be a lot of mental issues because of COVID and the lockdowns. So I would like to see your perspective that how we can, right, overcome this challenge on a personal basis.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So I'm actually alone here in Singapore. My family is in the US, in the East Coast. I haven't seen a hugged human friend or colleague or loved one in about more than 4 weeks. So it's not easy. It's been hard. I woke up yesterday and thinking, I feel like a robot. I don't feel very human. And I woke up feeling quite sad that when is the last time I hugged someone? or gave my niece a little kiss, or, it's these little things that make us human. And it definitely takes a toll emotionally and mentally. And, I'm open to getting advice from everyone watching this as well. I don't think any of us have the answer. And I think we'll figure out what works for us. But one thing that I do is, I think in terms of my spirituality, I spend a lot of time kind of praying and meditating. Also Zoom call my family and loved ones in the US almost every single day, because even if I can't hug them, at least I can blow them kisses on a Zoom call to stay connected. I'm doing a lot more journaling and trying to really reflect and use this time to reflect, and almost using this time to almost invest in myself too, and have some quiet time to do that. And I've started playing the piano again. And so getting back to the things that we love, whether it's our hobby or whether it's a passion project. And I think that will hopefully help me keep sane and to power through this time. And so I'm trying to also remind myself every day to be grateful, to have a mindset and attitude of gratefulness and gratitude, and to be grateful to be alive today. Because obviously there are many people around the world who are not healthy and who are not living, right, as a result of this pandemic. So, to just have a different perspective, which is I'm grateful to be alive and well today, and then start the day like that,
Right. No, that's an awesome advice for all those people who are getting a little bit restless, and they have started losing hope in what's happening. From my side, I do one very small thing actually. I talk to a lot of people who are looking for some advice. Rather than giving them advice, I try to give them hope. And another one thing which I found by interacting with a lot of people is that please don't do a lot of binge watching of Netflix, specifically if you are seeing something which is is having negative emotions, for example, the wars or something of violence and all that. Because a lot of people I saw that very, very negative. I asked them actually, what you have been watching lately? Oh, I finished this series yesterday. Okay. I said, that's the problem. Stop doing that. Right. So because when we have nothing better to do, then people do a lot of binge watching. And if you have not picked the right subject to see, then it might negatively impact you. So
I 100% agree. In fact, I spent one weekend binge watching a Netflix. I'm guilty. I did the same a few weeks ago. And I woke up the next morning after binge watching, and I just felt crap. It was not edifying to my mind and to my spirit, like my being and my energy. And I said, I shouldn't fill my mind with crap, because if you fill your mind with crap, then you can't help but have crap rolling around. So I said, I'm going to basically stop watching that. And now I'm going to handpick what I fill my mind with. And I think you make such an important point in terms of being really selective and intentional with what we fill our mind with, what books we read, what videos we watch, and how we spend it. Because whatever we see, we fill our mind with is really what comes out of our being. And so I totally agree with that.
And another thing is that because we are all alone and with limited access to talk to a lot of people, right? So that becomes an echo chamber. So what you see, it keeps on moving inside you far more than generally. In a routine day when you are doing your work, you're going to office, meeting people, doing your stuff, then you are watching something negative, it's okay because it's just a part of it. When you're all alone, it acts as an echo chambers and it replenish your brain with the same idea. So you start seeing conspiracy in everything. So,
I completely agree. Yeah. So I think you're right that when you're alone, you have to spend more time intentionally to fill it with good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think you're totally right. And also surround yourself with positive, good people as well.
That's very important. That's why actually I'm doing this video chat. It helps my audience as well as me to talk sense with right sort of people with good perspective. So that brings us towards the last session, last part of this session, where I would request you to give very, very pointed advisory to startups that what 3, 4, 5 things they should do to survive COVID, and when the things become normal again, they are still breathing.
Yeah.
So that is one part of
Yeah.
it. And also from the perspective of investors, what would be your message? Because you know that, like, now investors are becoming risk averse. They want to keep money where it is. They want to only fund the startup they've already funded. So what would be your advice to the investor community as well? So on these two things,
Okay.
would love to
Well,
hear from you.
yeah, so I'll separate those. I think first on the startup side, um, let me preface what I say with this. Many startups will not survive.
True.
Yep. And what I want to say to the startup founders who don't survive during this time, I want to say it's okay. Your startup does not define you and your value and your worth. And I want to make that very, very clear because suicide rates among founders is too high. And when your identity is tied to the success or failure of your startup, it's very unhealthy. And so to all startup founders, you are more, way, way more valuable than the success or failure of your startup. You were an amazing human before you had your startup, and you can be an amazing human after your startup. So I want to just say that, yeah? Because I think it's really important that not all startups will survive, okay? For those who will survive, a few tips. Number one, cash is king. It sounds very, very obvious, but sometimes when startups get a lot of cash in investment, somehow they forget and cash becomes like monopoly money. Cash is real, and managing your expenses, your cash flow, your burn is extremely critical. Even if you have extra cash, be super conservative. Think about every single cent that you're spending. So cash is king, number one. Number two, this is your time to burn fat and to rethink your business. What is core, what is most valuable, and what is of use to your clients. Stop doing the nice to do stuff. This is not the time for it. Get back to the basics. What do people, and listen to your customers, right? And be open to adapting what you're doing to what your customers need right now. The environment has changed, which leads to point three. Be open to adapt and innovate. The ones who survive and thrive during this time are going to be the ones who listen very carefully. We listen with two ears, right? So listen with two ears, speak with one, and think, what is the market telling you? And if you have a technology, a solution that is of value, then how do you magnify that to solve problems? The ones who survive will be solving real problems, not trying to push a product. So stop selling and pushing your products if there's no need. Yeah, so I think those would be three very simple, hopefully practical tips. Some of the largest and most successful companies we see today were founded during crisis, during economic crisis. So economic crisis is actually a great opportunity to innovate if you are listening and observing very carefully. So that's for startups, yeah. I think for investors, I think I say this, there's a philosophy, of your, what is it called? When you invest and you keep investing in it because you have invested in the past, it validates your prior decisions. Right. It's not the most rational. So I think that as an investor, you have to also be very objective when you look at the market and the opportunities. True. So you don't want to basically just keep pouring in because you poured in the past, if that company is not doing the first three things I just talked about, right? Yeah. And so I think it's up to you as an investor to assess, are the companies you're investing in having the mindset to do those things? If they are agile and adaptive and innovative during this time, definitely keep investing and supporting them. It's important. But if they're not, think twice, right? And the other thing is, crisis creates tons of value opportunities, right? And so, maybe I'm a little bit more contrarian, but I would be looking for opportunities to invest in the companies that I think are going to be the next big winners that emerge from this crisis. So I would probably be doubling down right now because costs might be cheaper, lots of opportunities, and this might be an opportunity to take market share. So I think as an investor, you probably have a portfolio, and as you have a portfolio, you have some that are high risk investments, and then some that are a little bit more conservative. But you're in the venture space, it's pretty much all high risk, right? So then within your high risk, it's high risk and super high risk. So I would probably still balance your portfolio to take some of those big bets, because this is your opportunity to make some big bets, which could yield multiple time returns over time. And if you don't kind of get in and you stay conservative, then obviously you're going to limit your upside as well. So, investing is all about managing your risks and your returns. And of course, every investor will have their own perspective. But I think to take a blanket fear-driven approach of I'm going to freeze and not invest, I don't know. Then I would question, why are you investing in the first place? If you're looking for a sure bet, then maybe invest in commodities. Right? Because investing is all about some level of risk. And
So
if you look historically, some of the best companies came during this time.
No, that's awesome advice for both startups. I love when you said cash is a king, because you have to, right, ensure that you are conservative in your expenses so that you can, weather away this uncertainty. At the same time, as you rightly said, that listen to the customer and create features which they need, rather than just doing to do nice things. So that's very, very critical advice. And I love when you said that actually investors should be very careful not to throw good money for the bad money. So that's awesome advice for the investors. And so Yang, thanks a lot. At least I learned a lot, and I'm very sure that my audience would become wiser after the discussion which we had. And there is very, very clear to-do points for them. And thanks for helping my audience as well as the world at large. Wish you all the best for your own initiative, and look forward to be in touch with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Deepak, for pulling this together. I think you're adding a lot of value to the world. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Stay safe. Thank you.
Okay, take care.